In this video, we're looking at the intensity boosting technique known as supersets. We're going to cover the critical areas of this technique so you can effectively implement supersets, taking all needed considerations into account so they reap the full benefits that this very effective training technique can bring. Supersets in themselves are a simple technique. Essentially just two exercises performed back to back, one after another with little or no rest in between. But all too often, it's because of the simplicity, trainers tend to throw any two exercises together, not really considering the full potential benefits that the right pairing can bring. So we're going to have a look at that. There's three main reasons why you'd want to use supersets. First, simply from a time-conscious point of view. The use of supersets gives you the ability to structure more volume. Second, the use of what's called a pre-exhaust superset for a fresh type of stimulus. A method you can use to effectively push relatively easy beyond failure, generating more metabolic stress and anabolic responses. We'll look into this over this video as well. And third, with the right structure and right exercise pairing, supersets gives us the ability to increase the intensity and stimulate the targeted muscles at different points of the muscle's range, meaning stimulating more of the targeted muscle's full profile, as well as encouraging growth responses such as muscle cell swelling and again metabolic stress, which we'll also have a look at in this video. Okay, the first one, time efficiency. In your traditional classic training format, you'll complete all of the scheduled sets of one exercise before moving to the next, resting for a period of time between sets. So naturally, a large percentage of your session is rest. With supersets though, that required rest period is cut right down, and a lot of it is used to complete a set of another exercise instead. This allows you to complete the same amount of exercises in a much shorter period of time. So it gives you the ability to structure more density to your training session, as you have more time up your sleeve. This results in a greater level of fatigue and metabolic stress, creating a favorable hormonal response, which may lead to greater muscle growth. Now, here's the thing, guys. When using supersets for time efficiency, your most favorable superset option is what's called an agonist-antagonist pairing. As you know, basically muscle groups that are opposite of each other. So as an example, pairing a bicep exercise with a tricep exercise. Pairing a chest exercise with a back exercise, pairing a quadricep exercise with a hamstring exercise. There's a couple reasons for this. First, from the point of view of rest. Let's just say you just complete a set of dumbbell chest press. The pecs are near fatigue, not to mention your assisting triceps and front deltoids. For optimal performance, for your next set, they need rest. So if you hit it again with another compound chest exercise, your performance is seriously going to drop. But if you stack your second exercise of the superset up to be a back exercise, the antagonist muscle group to your chest, and in particular, in this case, say a rowing back exercise, you are using a completely fresh set of non-fatigued muscles. So this would mean while you're working your back, your chest is having a chance to recover, so it's ready to go again next set. Now, not only from the interest of a rest point of view, but the antagonist-agonist pairing also holds some performance benefits as well. Several studies have shown that these types of supersets can actually increase force output during the agonist contraction because of reduced inhibition by the antagonist muscle and an increase in stored elastic energy within the muscle. That means if you proceed your bicep curl with a set of push downs for triceps, you actually may be able to perform more powerful contractions. This means greater mechanical tension and in turn, more muscular growth. The next variation and the reason for using supersets is under the type called a pre-exhaust superset. This focuses on, first, utilizing an isolation or a single joint movement to pre-exhaust the targeted muscle group before doing a compound movement to allow the secondary movement muscles to push the targeted muscle harder. In English, that means you start with an exercise that works just the target muscle, such as dumbbell front raise. When you're done, you use an exercise that works the target muscle with the help from other muscle groups. Example, dumbbell Arnold press. The net result is that you'll first exhaust the front deltoids with the front raise, then you move to the Arnold press. The front delts get help from the triceps to help keep moving the weight, pushing the front delts much harder than they would normally have to work when just performing the arm press. An obvious consideration here, guys, is your second exercise, the compound exercise, you don't lift as much weight as you normally do. Your target muscle is fatigued from the isolation exercise, and yes, while the secondary assisting muscle groups are in play, you still will not be able to lift as much if you pre-fatigued properly. Different superset combinations can help increase muscle fiber activation. Essentially, this means you can use specific exercise combinations to increase the intensity of work on a specific muscle, helping to stimulate the entire profile of the muscle. This is what's done through an agonist superset pairing. So two exercises working the same muscle group one after another. But what we're looking at is smart pairing. This is where I see so many trainers getting it wrong, giving very little thought to this. This type of superset gives us the ability to do so much more than just bash the muscle up with more volume. It gives us the ability to stimulate different muscle fibers at different points of the muscle's range of movement. A couple of examples here, guys. Let's take triceps as an example. The first exercise in our superset will perform overhead tricep extension. This places the majority of the load focus on the long head of the tricep. And if you know your anatomy well, you'll know that this overhead position has the tricep contracting out of its fully lengthened position. So very quickly, before we go into the next exercise of the superset, what we need to consider is exercise one of the superset is hitting the long head of the tricep as well as working the tricep out of its fully lengthened position. So now, when it comes to the next exercise, we want to be sure it's not going to hit the same points. So a smart exercise selection would be to say tricep dumbbell kickbacks, where the short head of the tricep is now in the firing line. And again, if you know your anatomy well, you'll know that this position of the arm tight to your side has the tricep contracting to its shortest, tightest contraction point possible. These two tricep exercise pairings are a smart pairing because even though you're targeting the same muscle group, you're shifting the load focus onto different heads and shifting the emphasis of the triceps range. This will help ensure the full muscle profile is being stimulated. Another quick example here, guys, of this type of superset, but this time not changing the load focus onto different heads of the muscle. Instead, just concentrating on the muscle's full range. Let's take bench press as exercise one. Primary muscle being worked is the pectorals, and the load focus is primarily through the pectoral sternal head. But let's see where the range comes into play. With the bench, we are placing the load focus very effectively from this point of the range to here. Essentially, only part of the range is being worked, half of the movement, because as we know, the pectoral's tightest contraction point is when our humerus crosses our body here, which we haven't touched that part of the range yet. So a smart superset pairing in this case would be to follow up the bench press with, say, a modified cable press, which would service the untouched part of the pectoral range that the bench press couldn't hit. So you see in this example, we didn't shift the load focus from different heads of the pectorals. In both the bench press and the modified cable press, the sternal head of the pecs was under fire. But what we did play with was shifting the focus to different points of the pectoral's range of movement through the sternal head. Selecting two exercises that place load emphasis at each point of the range. Granted, you do need to have a very good understanding of muscular anatomy to put to use highly effective agonist superset pairings. But to also take it to the next level, you need to understand the strength curves of exercises and how and when to use them to service a muscle at all points of its range.